Hey everybody, this is Jane Newhouse with Newhouse Wildlife Rescue, and we are doing our first live. Well, we've done another live, but this is our first live with some of our orphans this spring. And what we have here are 4 of our baby squirrels that we're going to be feeding in front of you guys today. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna wait a couple of minutes just to give everybody time to log on and check it out. But in the meantime, while we're waiting for everybody to come on, I'm just gonna let you guys watch them. They're just sleeping peacefully right now, all cuddled up together. They love cuddling together. It keeps them nice and warm. And right now I have them on a heating pad because they get cold very easy. Baby squirrels and a lot of other mammals, when they're young, they require an additional source of heat because they can't control their own body temperature. So one thing to note, if you ever find any orphan babies, one of the first thing we tell people is to get them on some heat so they don't get hypothermic. So these guys, there's a heat source beneath them. It's keeping them nice and cozy. So we're heating up their milk right now, and we'll start feeding them in about a minute. Alrighty, so I'm gonna go ahead and feed our first one. Let's see here, who do I wanna feed first? Yeah, you'll notice all of them have a little mark on their on the top of their heads. And that's what helps us to know who's who, because they all look so similar that we wanna make sure that we know who ate and how much they ate and who used the bathroom. Yes, Cindy, I know they've all grown so much. This is one of the ones that was actually found in Chelmsford a few weeks back. She's about 5 weeks old, getting very close to opening her eyes. She's a great eater too. So I'll show you right now what we do. She's really excited because she she feels the nipple coming. There we go, buddy. There we go. So I haven't named her yet. I've been calling her Miss Pink because the color on the top of her head is pink right now. But she's a great eater. There you go. We feed them with these little nipples that make it feels more like their mom, you know, more like a mother's nipple. It makes them more comfortable. And she will take about 5 cc or 4 cc's in a feeding right now. And we calculate how much food they can have based on their body weight. We calculate about 5 to 6% of their body weight. So we're constantly weighing them to make sure that everybody's gaining weight the way they should. And if anybody's not gaining weight the way that they should, we put them aside and keep an eye out and adjust the formula if we need to. And a lot of people ask what kind of formula we give them. And believe it or not, there are places that sell squirrel-specific formula. So our squirrels are fed a formula made specifically for squirrels. Yes, this squirrel is still a baby Karen. She's about 5 weeks old. So she's on just formula right now. Just gonna drop some more formula for her. When she opens her eyes in about a week, or should be any day now, but up to a week, she'll be able to eat more than just formula. But right now, that's all she can have, and she'll actually be on formula until she's about 12 weeks old. They start weaning off of it, so around 10 to 12 weeks, they'll take a lot less as they eat more and more regular food. That's so cute. I love the duckling sounds. Gina, that's cute. Yeah, it does sound like a little duckling, doesn't it? If you guys have any questions about squirrels, or if there's anything you were ever curious about regarding squirrel rehab, we're also happy to answer your questions. Karen, about her head, that's not any bleeding. That's actually nail polish. That's pink nail polish, and each one of them has a different color on their head. It doesn't hurt them, but it helps us to be able to identify them. Because it gets difficult to tell who's who because they look so similar, and we have to make sure that we keep an eye on who's eating and make sure that they're feeding well. So right now she's had 2 cc's of formula. Oop. And I'm gonna give her one more. You can see her siblings are just relaxing, waiting their turn. All right, you ready, buddy? I'll give you one more. There we go. She's a great feeder. So they actually have to be stimulated to use the bathroom. That's one thing a lot of people don't know. A lot of mammals have to be stimulated to be able to use the restroom. They can't pee or poop on their own. So what I'm gonna do, I'm not going to do that on live. I'm just gonna show you the feeding, but I will be handing them to a volunteer that I have with me. And she's gonna be making sure that they all use the restroom, which is really important. She's being so messy. And she'll also wipe her face down and make sure she's all cleaned up and ready to go back to sleep. They sleep really well when they've just been fed, just like a real baby. Maria asks, what is the regular food you feed them? So right now they're on something called Fox Valley squirrel food. That's for squirrels that are 4 weeks and older. Once they get older and they can actually have some food, they'll get rodent block, which has a lot of calcium in it, which is very good for them, and a lot of other nutrients. They'll also have fruits and veggies. Squirrels are actually omnivores, so they can sometimes they'll even eat insects or birds' eggs. There you go, buddy. All right, so I'm gonna hand her off right now so she can be pottied and cleaned up. But that was the end of her feeding. Say bye to everybody. Let me see. They won't stop eating when they get full. I'm just answering Karen's question. I actually have to figure out how much to give them. So this is London, also referred to as Mr. Red. He has a little red mark on his head. He's my biggest one, actually. He was one of the ones found here in Chelmsford. He's adorable. He's the only boy here that I'm showing right now. Sorry about that noise. So he's a really good feeder. And he was found in Chelmsford when someone was cutting down a tree. They didn't realize there was a squirrel nest in there, and we tried to reunite him with his mother. She took one of his siblings, but she didn't take him. They cannot see at this point. Their eyes are still shut. They should be opening them pretty soon. There you go, buddy. He's a ravenous feeder. There you go, buddy. Oh, Kathy says, thank you so much for sharing all that you do for our precious wildlife. You are most welcome, Kathy. We love helping these little guys. It's so rewarding to watch them grow. They're such sweethearts. I know squirrels have a bad rep among some people, and I always tell people that they're actually very good for the environment. Squirrels will bury a lot of their nuts. If they have more nuts than they need for that particular meal, they'll hide them, but they don't uncover all the nuts that they hide. So when they bury them, they actually plant a lot of trees, and they're responsible for a lot of reforestation. So it's an interesting fact about squirrels and how they're good for our environment. Hey, buddy, there you go. He's making a little mess here. I'm gonna wipe him down a little bit. There we go. I'm gonna drop some more formula. Okay. There we go, buddy. So they have to be fed every 3 hours around the clock. So well, these ones are old enough, we can bring them to every 4, but we have some younger ones that have to be fed every 3 hours. So we do get up in the middle of the night to feed them, just like if you were to have a baby at home. There you go, buddy. There you go. There you go. He's going into a little food coma right now. Squirrels will do that when they're really excited about the food they're eating. Wake up, little buddy. There you go. Sometimes they'll, a lot of rehabbers know what that is, a food coma, where they'll start not really sucking, but they'll keep moving their tongue, but not actually ingesting anything. They're just like in milk heaven. But they've grown a lot since we've had them. And so this one with the red and the one with the little pink on their heads, they're brother and sister. And like I said before, they were recovered in Chelmsford when their tree was cut down. And we tried to reunite with mom, but didn't really have any success. So we've had them for a few weeks and they've been thriving. And they should be opening their eyes any day now, which we're really excited about. Here you go, buddy. All right, so this is his last syringe. There you go. Gina asks, do they usually tend to get along as they're put with others their age? Yes, especially at this age. We make sure that when we combine litters, that we combine ones that are very similar in size, because you don't want to put a 100-gram squirrel in with a 20-gram squirrel. But as long as they're similar in size, they tend to just cuddle up with each other. They love snuggle buddies. They want to stay nice and warm. Here you go. Here you go. Yes, they do. Laura Ann mentions that they're trying to knead the nipple. They totally are. That's exactly right. They're constantly trying to push on it. It's really cute, like they would for their mother. Jenna asks, when they're released, will they stay together or will they go their own separate ways? What I have noticed from ones that we've released in the past is they initially stay together for a while. And I think they take comfort in each other because they're initially afraid. But over time, they will go their own separate ways. There you go, buddy. All right, so he's pretty much done with his feeding. So I'm going to hand him off and he's going to be stimulated to use the potty. So this is one of our more famous ones. This is little Anna. And I don't know if you all know her story. I know a lot of you do. So Anna was found in Lexington, Massachusetts. Her mom made a nest in the engine of a vehicle, and the vehicle was towed, and it wasn't realized that there were babies in there until much later. So she was very, very cold and had frostbite on her face. So her and her sister Elsa, they got the names Anna and Elsa from Frozen because they were pretty frozen when we found them. But they both had frostbite on their faces and they were maybe hours old, and they have really recovered wonderfully. We weren't sure if they were gonna make it or not, but they have gone above all odds, and they've really been thriving. So they're about 4 weeks old now. Len Poor, hi Len. Len asks, how long does it take to feed each one? It takes about 15 minutes or so because we feed them and then we have to stimulate them to use the bathroom. So it's taking us about an hour and a half to feed all the ones that we have now. Lori asks, do they instinctively know how to fend for themselves when they're released? They do, and but let me kind of explain that a little further. As long as you don't raise one by themselves and you raise them with each other, that helps huge. If you raise one by itself, they tend to be more habituated to people and they don't really understand that they're a squirrel. But when you raise them with each other, you see the instincts take over, and we keep our interactions with them to a minimum. So they naturally will forage. They will naturally bury their nuts and extra food that you give them without ever having to show them how. And they're naturally afraid of loud noises. So it's amazing what instinct does, even without mom present. Just as long as they're raised with others and we keep human interaction to a minimum. All right, so I'm gonna give her one more. Here we go. At what age do you introduce solid food? Asked by Lorene. We introduce solid food at about 6 weeks. Usually I just wait to see when they open their eyes. Once they open their eyes, we start to introduce them to some rodent block and get them used to solid food. Yeah, she goes. She's a really good eater. But we've had her since she was hours old. There you go, buddy. Now, I don't know if you guys have ever seen any black squirrels. A lot of people think that they're actually different when they see a black squirrel. They'll think it's a whole different breed, but black squirrels are actually gray squirrels. 1 in every 10,000 gray squirrels is a black squirrel. And that's just a difference in the melanin that's in their fur and that colors them. It's just, it's an anomaly. And also same with like albino squirrels. Are you all done, buddy? Can you say goodbye to everybody? So she's done with her feeding. She'll be stimulated too. And then the last one that I'm feeding right now, this is Elsa. So Elsa, we're the most proud of because she's Anna's sister. She's a little smaller than the ones that we recovered in Chelmsford. She's just a week younger. But Elsa really overcame a lot. I mean, if you look at the pictures on our Facebook page, it's incredible. Most of her face had frostbite, and we really didn't know if she was going to make it or not. We don't have any squirrels that we've had to keep. We've been able to release everybody. So we've been fortunate. If we find some that aren't releasable, we're not allowed to actually keep them here. Oops, sorry, buddy. We're not allowed to actually, I'm going to swipe her face, sorry. Legally, you can't keep them unless you have a teaching permit specifically for squirrels, which we don't have. Doesn't matter, Elsa, you're not in the mood to eat. Elsa's like a little bit more difficult to feed. There you go, it's okay. She's a lot more vocal about her feedings too. You don't want to eat right now? Sometimes if they're not in the mood to feed, I'll wait a little bit longer and give them some more time, which I may do with her right now. Yeah, you're not in the mood, huh? That's okay. So Elsa tends to be the most finicky about her meals. Can I get Mr. Green? I'm gonna show you guys one more that we have. I call him Mr. Green because the color of his nail polish is green. He's one of my younger ones. He's about 3 weeks old, and he was found in a bobcat engine. So not bobcat like the animal, but bobcat like the vehicle. So you'll notice he has a lot less fur on him than the other ones. He's an absolute doll, such a sweetheart. But definitely a lot younger. And some people aren't sure when they find them, is this a mouse or is this a squirrel? So I'll give you the secret. See his nails right here, how they're black at the ends? So that's how you know you're looking at a squirrel. If the nails are completely white, then you're looking at a mouse. So let's see. All right, I'm gonna give him some food. Here you go, buddy. He's a great eater too. So I don't keep him in with the other ones because he's a lot smaller. Alexander asks, do we color code our babies? And if so, how? So we actually put nail polish on the tips of their heads. So this is Mr. Green right here. That's his color code, and that's what his code is in our files where we keep track of how much he eats and if he uses the bathroom or not. Heather Daniel asks how old they are whenever we release them. So usually about 12 weeks is when they're old enough to be released. So he's about 3 weeks now, so it'll be another 9 weeks before he's ready. Cindy asks if we still have the flying squirrels. For those of you that don't know, we actually had 13 flying squirrels over the winter. Some were injured in mouse traps, some were caught by people's cats, but more and more people found out that we had them, and they do well in colonies. So we just kept getting more and more, and they all did really well over the winter, but they have all been released. Which is good because we need the room for all of the gray squirrels that have been coming in. There you go, buddy. There you go. So yeah, it's a labor of love. It's every 3 hours for this little guy, and it's overnight too. We warm their milk up. We use hot water to warm up their milk. We don't microwave it. There you go, buddy. There you go. Susan asks, do you release them back where they were found? Yes, we do. Within 5 miles of where they were found is where we release them. So when people bring them to us, we usually ask the town and the street address if we can get it, so we can make sure they're released back to approximately where they were found. Lorianne asks, would love to see a release when ready. Do you think that would be possible? So the squirrels, when we release the squirrels, I always do a soft release. And what that means is that we give them a den box. We get them used to that den box. And then when we release them, we put the den box by a tree or on a tree up high so that they can have somewhere comfortable to go. So it's hard to actually watch them be released because they don't just run so much as we put the den box out, and they'll kind of check out their surroundings, but they're not, they don't like run off. So it's not as interesting a release as, say, a bird that had a broken wing that can now fly. Hermione asks if we need any volunteers. As of right now, we're really fortunate. The community has been so incredibly supportive, and we were at a spot where we needed some. We recently acquired 5 new volunteers, and we've been training them, and it's been so incredibly helpful to have them. Right now, we're not in need of any more, but at some point we may be, and what we've been telling people is that you can leave us your information, and we can certainly contact you when we're in need of more volunteers. PJ asks what that green spot is, if we said it yet. So the green spot is it's the way that we mark them. So each of them has a spot. Oh, look at them all cuddled together. They are so adorable. Oh, somebody's got a little itch. The green spot is the way that we mark them, so they each have a different color coding. It's nail polish. It doesn't hurt them. It's just on the tops of all their heads so that we can know who's who and keep better track of how much they're eating and for their files. There right now we have 7 total. We have 2 very small pinkies. I'm not going to feed them on here because they're so tiny, and I need to be fully focused when I feed them. One thing we have to be cautious of is if we feed them too quickly, they could aspirate. So we have to be very cautious when we feed them. When they get to this age, they're a lot easier to care for. But when they're younger, they're a lot more frail. So, but yeah, we have 7 gray squirrels right now. There we go. So you'll see they're a lot more calm and comfy after they've had full bellies. We have them on a heating pad, so that's what's keeping them nice and warm. And so before I end this, what I'm going to do, I want to tell you guys what to do if you find an orphan or injured baby squirrel. And this is really important because the first steps that are taken can make a big impact. If you've seen them fall from their nest, or if you saw their nest get damaged, a lot of times they can be reunited with their mom if offered back up to her. And what that takes is if you have a shoebox or something that you can put them in and bring them closer to the tree, and keep them warm. A lot of times if you have a heating pad, put on low. If you have a sock and some rice, some dry rice, you can heat that up and put that beside them. Keeping them warm is key. But if you can keep them warm and offer them to mom, give her a few hours. Usually within 2 to 3 hours, she'll have collected them. If she doesn't come get them, then definitely you'll want to contact your nearest local wildlife rehabilitator. Here in Massachusetts, you can go to mass.gov to see what rehabilitator is closest to you. A lot of rehabilitators will take squirrels. So in the interim between finding them and getting them to a rehabilitator, you just want to make sure you keep them warm. Don't offer them any food. Keep them in a dark, warm, and quiet place. You don't want to overstress them. One of the things a lot of people try and do is feed them before they get them to a rehabilitator. And if you feed them the wrong thing, you can really cause a lot of problems. So you're better off not giving them anything. If you have them overnight or can't reach anybody, some warmed up Pedialyte can rehydrate them. And usually that's what rehabbers start with anyway when they're getting them used to stuff. So they're asking how many we have here. Right here we have 4 squirrels. See if I can turn them around for you guys so you can see their heads. There we go. They were kind of upside down. Here they are. So the 2 in the middle are sisters, or a sister and brother, and the 2 on the outside are sister and brother. All right, guys. Well, that's pretty much all we have for you today. We'd love some feedback to see what you thought about this. Anything we can do to improve. We want to make sure that we educate the public as much as we can and kind of give you a glimpse into our world of rehabilitation. If you'd like to support us, donations can be made to newhousewildliferescue.org. And also, if you ever have any questions or concerns about local wildlife, don't hesitate to give us a call. Thanks so much, guys. Have a great weekend.